Hello, this is Sergia Louise Anderson. We are here going live to talk with Greta Pontarelli today. So get your questions ready. Greta is a pole artist. She's been pole dancing for quite a while now. She did start pole dancing much later in life. And we want to hear her take on her story as well as just any tips she has for people starting to pole dance later on in life. Greta has gone on to do all sorts of international competitions and all sorts of cool stuff in her pole career. I'm going to see if I can invite her to come on. Here we go. Let's see. A warm welcome to Greta. A lot of you in the pole community are very familiar with her already. Hi, Greta. How are you?
Hi, it's so great to be here. And first of all, I want to thank you because you've done so much to inspire my pole journey. So, so, so where would you like to start with this? What do you think is most relevant? To talk about my story or talk about things that inspired me? Or
Yeah, I'd love to start with the beginning of when you found pole dancing. How old were you at the time? What was what did you want with pole?
I started when I was 59, and both of my sisters came down with osteopenia. So I thought, oh gosh, I've got to do something. I don't want to take drugs. And I looked online, what can I do to remineralize my bones? And I found these beautiful dancers on YouTube. And it just touched my heart. And I said, this is what I want to do. So I said, okay, I want to pole dance. This is exciting to me. So I got a free class in the mail. They're just fortuitous that it showed up a couple of weeks later. And I thought, okay, I'm going to go do this. And I think that the teacher thought after my first class that I'd never be back because it wasn't easy. But nothing is easy when you start. But I think, something drew me back there, and I started celebrating the little victories. You get these, something I thought was not doable, I'm suddenly doing. And so it kind of gets up to be a positive addiction. So that's how I got started in it.
Yeah, and what was that like when you first getting into class? First class was time. Yeah, like what part of pole drew you in? What did you find that you wanted to express? What did what kept you going?
I believe it was pretty multidimensional. It was great as a side effect to get in better shape, of course. I think the thing is, it really fed my soul, like telling a story, finding those archetypes within that inspire our lives and try to create characters out of them that can leave a bit of my heart on the stage and share that message. Because I think people really need, they need healing in their lives. They need empowerment. And if I can in some way be a catalyst, even in a tiny way for that, my heart is full.
Yeah, and you started performing and pretty soon. And so how long were you pole dancing before you started to tell stories?
Can you hear me? You're a little clipped for me. Am I coming through okay?
You're coming through okay. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. It's slightly clipped, but I just want to make sure that, if I need to move closer to my router or whatever.
We're getting you loud and clear, so we're getting
perfect.
You.
Okay. Perfect. Yes. Well, I think what really started me competing was I was on American Ninja Warriors twice, actually, and it was before they had all these wonderful CrossFit women on. They were looking for people, so they called me up. Would you like to run at Venice Beach this Saturday? And I had never seen the show, so I said, okay. And I got there and I saw that wall, and I go, God, what am I in for? But somehow it inspired me, and I got partway through the course, even though I was not prepared at all. I was grateful to get through what I got through. And when it aired on TV, they said, and this is the oldest person to ever attempt the course. And I thought, me? The oldest person? That was an epiphany. And I thought, okay, so I need to get this message out there to people. I don't want to be the oldest person. I want to cast this net broader so people that are older realize that they can always become the very best they can become and to not give up on their dreams. So that is what motivated me to compete, because my real competition's in the mirror. So when I go to compete, which I still do, I call them championships. And it gets harder and harder because more people are moving into the masters category. There's so many amazing, artists that are in their 40s and 50s that there's no way that somebody at my age, having both hips, done, both of them, I've had a dual mobility systems put in both of my hips. There's no way I could compete with them because, as you get older, you don't have quite the flexibility. You lose a little bit of muscle mass. But I like fine wine, I think you get more seasoned in a way. So I think for those older artists, don't be intimidated by these people that are doing like you, doing all these crazy tricks. Don't get intimidated. Say, okay, I can leave more of my heart in my stage because I've had life experience. And when you have that life experience, it's a little easier to connect with the audience, and it's a little easier to share your journey in a way that maybe the younger people haven't quite had that seasoning yet. So that's kind of what I focus on. As you know, it's not about the tricks. It's really about sharing the story and sharing your journey and trying to bring that character to life through the tricks. Try to do that move in a fresh new way, the way the character would do it. So it's like instead of going up to the pole and saying, pole, I have arrived. You're like, you have to find a way that character in that moment would do it. And then also, as you and I worked a lot with, the victory and the suffering. Like great fine music is about crescendos. They have something that's slow, like you go into summer, the Four Seasons. That's one that most people are familiar with, and it's beautiful outside, and the music is slow, and there's butterflies dancing, and all of a sudden, presto comes in, and a storm comes in, and that's kind of how it is on. Like I try to bring it way down, and then all of a sudden, boom, something changed. Something changed. There's a catalyst there that all of a sudden you went from the victory to suffering, and then you go back to victory again, because it's really a play on Joseph Campbell, The Hero's Journey, which is so important to take people on that journey, because it's not interesting if everything is all victory. And if it's all suffering, people kind of they want to have a happy ending, right? So it really, everything that I do really takes in that metaphor of Joseph Campbell. And in every moment, I try to find, like if I'm going through suffering in my piece, it's like, where the pain is in your life is where you will find your life. And as Rumi says, the wound is the place the light enters. So I always say, okay, I'm in the wound right now, but I know that there's light. I know that's going to come in. And in that, within my piece, I try to find it, and I try to carry my people with me that, that are there, or people I'm watching it online. I find for me, it's much easier to do that live. When I look at my videos, I thought, oh gosh, it's two-dimensional. There's no way for them to really feel the energy. And the only way they could really feel it, maybe if there was photography that was more like, instead of legit theater, was more like TV, where they could zero in on the emotions more. But when you're in the legit theater and everything is shot from behind, you have to kind of exaggerate everything for them to even feel it and see it. And it's something I've always working on. It's one of those things that you keep going back, you videotape yourself, and you go, I can give more. I can do better. There's more to give. And so that's something I always work on. And that's what motivates me to keep going. You love the journey. There is no end point, right? It's just like life. It's all a journey.
Yeah. Oh, it's so wonderful. I miss work about your work again. So tell me about your journey and feel like you evolved into over these last, what year?
What year did it start really evolving?
Yeah. So when did you start pole dancing, and how long? What has evolved over the course of this?
Okay, so I started. So I started when I'm 59. So I guess I've been doing it for 12 years, and I would say most of the tricks I had now I learned the first 2 years, but it was the artistry or something that I kept working on. And I think, I worked a lot with you, and you really were just a fantastic catalyst about it being about the story. It's really about the story. And that's why I really gravitate towards pole art now, because it's much easier on my body, because you have breathing room, you have space, you have time to go, take a breath, right? Instead of, okay, back to back moves. I just don't get the glucose back into my muscles fast enough. I can do a lot of moves separately, but when you put them back to back, it's hard on me. And I've pulled muscles doing that. And so I've learned to really listen to my body and not overtrain. Spend more time on choreography and things that don't tax your body, and don't run my routine 5 times a day like I used to do. You said, why are you doing this? I go, well, I want to get it better. And then I realized that your body does better when you give it a little break to recover and renew. So I think during those off days, it's really important to say, okay, today is a character day. I'm going to really videotape myself and say, what is the music saying? What is the character saying in this moment? So I think all that developed over a few more years. And then I started realizing that my archetype, everybody wants me to do something that's inspirational, like the phoenix rising out of the ashes. If I do something different, they don't like it. Like if I was your clown, right? They would say, what happened to Greta? Even though you pulled off that clown perfectly, right? I loved it. They would they're expecting something else, right? Just like, I think, like Sergia, she came out as the clown. They go, where's the tribal, right? So I've learned, okay, so this is my brand. This is my archetype. So what I learned as the metamorphosis is I have to be able to take that archetype and share it in fresh new ways. Like it could be the butterfly coming out of the cocoon. But even this last one I did was one that was totally original. And I sat there thinking, how am I going to take this archetype and make it more original? How can I bring it to life in fresh new ways? And I found that, I don't create anything. It's kind of channeled. You hear some music, and this music starts to bring, something starts to develop, and then you start seeing a character. And then sometimes the props kind of come in. Sometimes it's in a dream. Sometimes as I'm working out, I go, oh, this needs to happen here because this is what it's saying to me. So I think in the past few years, I've gotten more into doing things that are more original. The piece that I did a piece on the forest, which I would like to totally rework that piece, because I did it about 2 months after my second hip surgery. And I did really well with the piece, but there are some things that I wanted to bring to that piece that I couldn't bring because I still had certain provisions. I was afraid to do a Russian. There were certain things I thought my body needs to heal. So I'm not going to do a cartwheel and then whip right into a split. So I kind of had to change some things. So I would like to revisit some old pieces and say, okay, now that I have grown, how would I do this piece today? And maybe change the music up, change certain things about it. But the same archetype is still there because that archetype is not static. It's breathing. It's alive, and it morphs into many different aspects of itself because it's multidimensional. So so but that's my challenge. But I love that challenge because to me, I mean, it feeds my soul because as I work on these pieces that are inspirational, then you get more in touch with who you really are. And it's really enlightening in a lot of ways because you go to levels of yourself that you learn how to turn challenges into thrusting blocks for growth. You learn how to really try to become the very best you can become. And you look at one place, as Joseph Campbell says, when you follow your breaths, when you follow your dream, who you really are, you will find doorways where you once saw walls. And that is what it does to me. It makes me, the door starts to come to life, and then I walk through that door. And every piece is kind of like that. I see a wall, and then all of a sudden this door appears. And life is such a miracle. I mean, the fact we wake up every day, and and every day I wake up, I feel blessed that there's another day that I could try to make a little bit of tiny difference in the lives of other people on this planet. And so that's what inspires me. It's all about here. It's not about more tricks, although it'd be fun to do some more interesting tricks. They're fun. I just want to be more authentic. I want to be more compelling. I feel like there's so much more to give, and so I just want that probably cast my net broader. So that is my goal. I love doing that, and I really tell people just go deep inside yourself and find what makes your soul soar. Find that magic and share it with the world. And that's really what it's all about. And celebrate those little victories. And take a move and see how you can perfect it. So how can I make this move? How can I make it more fluid? The approach, the entrance. We forget about transitions a lot, don't we? You don't, but I mean, as artists, they want to get to the trick. And look at the transition sometimes and breathe. Sometimes when you perform, make sure that you breathe before you hear yourself breathing when you do it, because it's so much more powerful. If I go to you right now and I go, it's really different if I go, see, because as I exhale, my whole body exhales. It's not just here. It's like your whole being gets into it. It's like every muscle is engaged in that release and letting go, and then the drawing back in again. It's people feel it because these little tiny muscles get engaged in it, and that to me is really important. And that also is part of the transitions too, as you approach something, because it's so easy to hold your breath, and I'm guilty of it. So it's a journey.
Yes. Well, it's important information for embracing their own journey. I mean, you found you on, and that you really wanted to focus. You had focus after you had, right? How was that journey for you? And going
I'm sorry, I kind of clipped the words.
Yeah. So when did you have your hip surgeries, and what was it like coming back from that?
Okay, so my first one was probably 2019 is when I had them. So it's 3.5 years ago. And my left hip actually needed it for a couple years prior, but I tried PRP, I tried autologous stem cell transplants, and it gave me time. My doctor said, it's not going to fix it. We're not there yet. We don't have the architecture for anything we do to really attach to it yet. It's something that they're working on, but you need to have that architecture in there for it really to stay. So anything that you do is going to probably help you with pain, he said. So for about the 3 years, I guess, I competed with it. And I can't tell you how many times I went to the plane in a wheelchair, went and competed and then won and came back in a wheelchair because I could not walk that far between the entrance of the airport and there. And it was kind of embarrassing to ask for it. Then after a while, I thought I have no choice, so I've given up on this. I'm just grateful that I can still do pole and I can get between the two poles and walk between them, because I did have a pretty bad limp. And so after the second one was done, I think right away he said, okay, you can still do pull-ups, but you can't go past 90 degrees for 6 weeks because your body needs to heal. Your body, give it that room to settle in. And so for those 6 weeks, I tried to do things to keep myself stronger. And then after that was over, that was February, I went to Port Italy and I actually won. And it was really, people say, what was the win that means the most to you? They all do. But that one, the fact that I could come back, after that, and then see that out of all the competitors and all the competitions, like men, women, all levels, I had the third highest score. That was pretty amazing. It wasn't just winning my category. It was like, God, somehow I communicated something that was really important to me. And because it was about a tree being burnt in a forest fire and thinking that life is over, and then it started to come back to life as a sprout. That's how our lives are. We look in the ashes of what we go through. We see the blessings and water them, and they germinate and grow. And that is exactly what I went through with my hips. And my hips, now my flexibility came back. There's some things that are not, I can't sprint really fast. I couldn't walk. I couldn't do a half a marathon or anything, but I can do pole, I can dance. I could walk to the plane with no problem. I feel no pain at all, and I was in pain. Towards the end, I was in pain. That was my motivation. When you get enough pain, you say, okay, nobody wants surgery, but I want to sleep at night. I need to rejuvenate. So since then, I think going through that experience, that a lot of the metaphors are around that experience. Because a lot of people have reached out to me that have gone through a lot, and gone through all kinds of medical issues. And I tell them, just celebrate what you do. Find that celebration, what you can do. And that's your journey. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. Allow yourself just to blossom and to grow. And I have to say, it really touches my heart when people reach out to me. And I try to answer all of them. And sometimes they get stuck in these folders that I can't find. They have some deployment and something I thought was here, was there. And I'm not maybe as active on social media as I would like to be. It probably should be. But I'm really super busy creating and doing things that in real life that I think, oh gosh, I haven't posted. I got to share something. And every time I share something, I want it to say something meaningful. So it does take a little bit of time to think about what I'm going to do. So my goal is to get a little bit more active there, I suppose.
Yeah. So, surgery, was that the last surgery that you had for hips, or did you have another one after that?
Well, the first one was, let's see, it was July of 2019, and the second one was October of 2019.
Yeah, I love talk about celebrate what you can do and do. Celebrate that and that.
I said 2019. I'm wrong. It's 2018 because I won Pole Art Italy in 2019 in February, so it was 18. So it's actually 4 years ago. God, time flies. It gets away from us, doesn't it? I look at it and I go, gosh, we're headed towards Christmas again.
I know.
It's amazing. But I really believe that, within the pieces you create, you can find so much healing. People that are going through things, you create pieces that, if you practice those pieces as often as you can, and it starts to come to life, you will find that there's seeds of healing in there for you. Because we all go through challenges in life, but instead of asking for a lighter load, develop stronger shoulders. Because you've all got those, not physical muscles, but the spiritual muscles and those inner muscles to take on challenges and turn them into our strength. So to me, that's what it's all about. It's about finding those strengths within all of us. We all have them. Because really, life is such a blessing. And I love people. People are my inspiration, particularly as you get older. I remember meeting Laura Huxley, and her husband was Aldous Huxley, who, with kind of a very famous author, The Doors of Perception. And she was in her mid-90s, and I met her, and she said, she had a beautiful house in Hollywood Hills. It needed some repairs, And she said, yeah, the house needs repaired. I don't care about the house at this point in my life. It's all about people. It's all about people. How can I leave a footprint? How can I make a difference? And that really stuck with me, because that was probably about maybe 15 years ago. And it was probably right before I started pole. And I thought, you know what? So that stuck with me, and in some way, she doesn't realize how she allowed my journey to manifest through those words, because I realized she's like a sage to me, because the way she said that, I realized that there's such inner wisdom there. And it just really touched my heart really deeply. So that, to me, is what it's all about. It's about people, and it's somehow being a catalyst for other people to share their gifts with the world.
Yeah. And how, who imagined that pole dance would be that vehicle for you?
I would have never guessed, but I know when I did gymnastics when I was younger, and at the 22, they think, like after college, you're basically a has-been. I think they sometimes now do adult things, but where I was, they said their insurance would not cover me. It didn't cover me. So at that point, I guess pretty soon I started studying martial arts and other things that I could do at my age and dance. But I like to think that gymnasts, there's no longevity. And pole art now, it seems like we're just going to keep going. I hope I can do it, when I'm in my 80s. I hope we can have another talk and say, well, now that you've reached 80 and you're still, on the stage, but see, the stage is my platform. And, I never expected it to be that way. But before I got into pole, before I found out about having beginnings of osteopenia, I was fascinated by people that had a message they wanted to share with the world, like climbing Mount Everest to share a message. A lot of people go through that just to share the message. And I was really fascinated by that. I thought, I'd love to go to base camp. I'd love to, it's challenging, but something about me wanted to climb Mount Everest. And then my hips started going right before I started doing pole. And I started climbing the pole and sharing my message with the world. So the pole became my Everest. So sometimes the road turns left, you turn left. So that was an archetype, right? That doesn't mean I had to physically climb the mountain, Mount Everest. It meant that was the archetype of what I was to do. And so I turned left and I go, okay. So that's that's why it all happened with Paul. It was a metaphor for all of it. It was about climbing. It was about the ecstasy of reaching heights, that feeling of sharing a message with the world and sharing your journey on the stage and doing something, at a world level that, when you climb Mount Everest, it's always at a, international level. And same thing about my journey on pole. It's all been the last number of years international. And I feel so blessed to be able to travel and meet such amazing, inspiring people. Gosh, so many wonderful people have been drawn into my life. I mean, I just feel like such gratitude for all of them, because it makes my life so rich, doesn't it? I'm sure you feel the same thing.
Yeah.
It's all about, sharing with people. So I just have such gratitude. And, the more, it seems like the more gratitude you have, the more gratitude comes into your life. Right. And to me, that's really important. So I'm grateful for what my body will do. And I don't beat it up for what it won't do. But I do try to challenge myself. I always try to say, okay, I look at my videos, I go, oh, I could do so much more. I could do so much better. They're hard for me to watch. It's easy for me to watch them when I'm training because I can fix it, right? When I compete, after I compete, I don't want to watch it. Because I always thought, I think that angle could have been presented better. or so, there's always little things that you can't go back and fix because that was it, right? So they're very hard for me. There's some videos that took me a couple of years to watch. And then finally, somebody was watching it, and I was standing there, and I go, okay, I'm not going to walk away. I'm going to watch this.
I feel like a lot of artists are like that. It's so about the journey and about the creative process and about what you went through to bring that piece to the stage on that night. And then really what happens that night doesn't really, sum up everything that went into that experience for you. So really, in a way, watching that night's video is kind of a fleeting thing. It's like, what you went through to bring it there,
I know. Isn't that true? I mean, yeah, it's so much more. It's so much more. And I think that people, that's why I say I've learned not to beat myself up over things that I think, oh, I could do that so much better. I've learned not to do that, and think, okay, one day at a time. There's always something about it that I can find that was better. Maybe the presentation was better, but I thought that maybe I didn't move in. Maybe the transition in or out wasn't what I wanted, or something. But I try to find something about it and then expand that and build on it. Say, okay, here's some part of it that is really good, and this is a work in progress here.
What a joy, and then what a objectively to inspire me to move on to my next project. How I want to play with that, to have that come out a little bit differently next time or whatever.
Yeah, yes, and people don't realize, so many people don't realize that they are, like when my piece comes together, like I'm sure being with you today and maybe some people I connect with afterwards, I'm sure that it'll start to be the pieces of the puzzle for my next project. Yes, because it's all part of it. I mean, they don't realize sometimes something they say or something they liked about something, all of a sudden it expands and it comes to life in a fresh new way. And that's why I say I love people reaching out with me, because they are a really powerful catalyst for everything that I do. So yes, it's a lifelong journey, isn't it? It's a beautiful sojourn, and I just feel so grateful that that I connect with the pole community, and that in some way that I can motivate those people to not let age or any limitation keep them from going after their dreams with a passion.
for sharing your story and sharing
No.
all of your passion and your wisdom and your knowledge with us. You know, so many key points about, you know, rejoicing and really taking in what we can do and focusing on that, you know, knowing that it's your own unique journey, and just the wonders and amazement of how you can continue to tell stories on stage. I just love that. So thank you for joining us today. I know so many people are going to get
Thank
so
you
much
so
from
much.
this.
Thank you so much for sharing. And anybody that's watching this, please feel free to reach out. Be sure to follow me as Ariel Zen, which is my tag, you know, my handle on Instagram, and then Greta Pontarelli on Facebook, because I love connecting with people and I love hearing about their journeys, and I love seeing them become the very best they can become.
Wonderful.
And take things off their bucket list, right? We all have things on our bucket list that, you know, it's like, okay, this is off today. Something about it. So to me, that's really important. And I'm very grateful for everybody that does connect. So I want to encourage them to do that.
All right.
And hopefully you and I can get together soon and continue our journey working together.
Yeah, can't wait. Well, reconnecting. Have a beautiful, everyone.
Oh, thank you so much.
Bye, Greta.
Thank you. Bye. Love to everybody out there. There, you can see it. Bye-bye.